This whole time, you've been playing Subnautica wrong. You see, for $12.99, I bought the official Subnautica handbook, or unofficial, so don't look at that. And with this handbook, I would be able to learn all the secrets and tips on how to beat the game the way it was intended. And did I mention I've never actually beaten Subnautica before? So I'm gonna have to rely heavily on what this guidebook tells me. However, there is one problem. This book is all in German. Oh, no. So yeah, that won't be annoying at all. That'll be fine. It'll be good. But yeah, even in a different language, it will give me step-by-step guides on how to complete this game. From the second I step out of the Lifepod to discovering the secret alien facilities and the darkest depths of the ocean. So with all that being said, this is beating Subnautica the way Unknown Worlds intended. And the second we get jettisoned from the Aurora, I instantly get hit with a sheet of metal, so that's good. And after waking up, it started a fire inside the Lifepod. So the first thing the guidebook tells us to do is to pick up the fire extinguisher and instantly put the fire out. And just like that, I had the Lifepod secured. And with the Lifepod finally being safe to walk around in, this would be my main base of operations for a little while. In here, it has all the things I need, like a fabricator, which is used to craft things, a small amount of storage, and a radio, which will be important for later. But right now, it's time for me to climb the ladder and take my first look outside.
What the f is this piece of shit?
So yeah, pretty much nothing but ocean. That's it. But the very first thing after we step out of the Lifepod is to take our first dive. So the guidebook recommends me to take at least 2 to 4 fish, so I just took 4. You know, I thought that'd be a little bit better. And they also wanted me to get to 100 on my food and thirst meter, just to make sure I was fully ready to go. With my food and water situation ready to go, it was now time for me to start looking for resources. So I took a look in a small cave, and this guy just chased me and almost killed me. And this guy is known as the crash fish, which I bet you didn't know that. Or as this book says, it's just the crash fish. Or yeah. And if you're wondering how I'm even translating this, there's like a little translate feature. So yeah, because you know I don't know what this says. But anyways, the guidebook wants me to get a list of resources. So the first thing I had to do was get 4 mushrooms, 2 pieces of quartz, 2 pieces of copper, and 6 pieces of titanium. And it also said to collect 2 pieces of creeper bush. Didn't know what that meant, but yeah, it's apparently this vine thing. So yeah, like I said, you know, they're not all direct translation, but I figured it out eventually. And with all these resources that I collected, I got myself a bunch of tools to start. The guidebook recommends that we craft ourselves 2 batteries, 1 piece of glass, and 2 silicone rubbers. And with all these materials, the guidebook wants me to craft a standard scuba tank, some swim fins to make us go a little bit quicker, a field knife, a scanner, as well as a flashlight. And with all these new tools that I got, it meant I could explore a lot further. And you also remember these guys? Yeah, they're apparently also called firecrackers. I don't know why the book names the same creature 2 different things. I don't know, whatever. But anyways, they wanted me to check the surrounding caves where that was. And now that I was a little more equipped, I felt a lot safer going into there. And the guidebook also recommends us to scan literally everything we find. There are plenty of fragments near spawn. They recommend we get the gravity traps. And the guidebook also recommends I scan every creature I can find. And I'm also supposed to scan literally everything. So just random bushes, like random resources, all of that, because it can provide me with some pretty useful information. And also the guidebook wanted me to get the mobile vehicle bay. Now this will be important for later on for creating bigger vehicles and stuff like that. And it says you can find them around the safe shallows and kelp zones. So I decided to search there and see if I could find any more of these fragments, because it was going to be very important later on. And also it was about time to get this sea glide. Now I was able to find the last fragment of it, and the sea glide is going to be very important. It stays throughout the entire game. Basically, it's going to make transportation a lot easier. And also with the sulfur that I collected a while ago, I created myself the repair tool and repaired the Lifepod. And the guide also recommends we repair the radio. So I got that done. And I also collected a little more resources while I was in this cave. And this was to craft a better scuba tank so I could be underwater for a lot longer. And with the resources that I got, I crafted a new scuba tank. And this would be a lot better. Before it offered about a minute underwater, and now it's about double that. So this was going to make it a lot easier to explore, and I'd have to make a lot less trips up to the surface. It also made the vehicle bay, so yeah, whatever, you don't care. Anyways, the guidebook says by now that the Aurora should be exploding soon. So basically, I was just kind of messing around waiting for that to happen. And sure enough, I got a warning, so I made my way up to the surface. With the Aurora exploding, I instantly unlocked the blueprint to the radiation suit. And I would have to wear this if I wanted to get anywhere close to the Aurora, because, you know, if the radiation gets me, I'm gonna die pretty quick. So I made sure I got that right away. And by this point, the guidebook says that you'd be running out of space, which was, that was kind of true. I had not much space left. So I'm recommended to make a small base. It recommends that I make 2 X compartments right next to each other. And I'm also supposed to fill it with cabinets, which these are not called cabinets, but I'm assuming that's what they mean. So I made a bunch of wall lockers. And basically, this would serve as a sort sort of a temporary base where I can just store a bunch of stuff, because the guidebook says you can deconstruct them at any time and move them. And also there's a point later in the book where it goes over bases, so right now this would just be temporary. And I made my way over to the grassy plains because apparently that's where I can find a bunch of fragments, which, yeah, I did find quite a few. I was able to find some fragments for the sea moth as well as the laser cutter. So now with all my fragments, I collected a bunch of resources. Yeah, this took a little bit of while. Yeah, it took a little bit, but I eventually got everything I needed, and I created myself the sea moth. Now this acts as kind of your primary vehicle to get around, and it would be insanely useful. I was instructed to go to the Aurora, and not gonna lie, I had kind of no clue how to get in. The guidebook doesn't even tell you how to get into the Aurora. It just says to go explore it. So I was just stuck at this entrance, you know, doing nothing. Yeah, okay. And the guidebook also warns about these like little crab guys walking around, as well as some Reaper and Leviathans that are outside. So yeah, you know, not the best place to be in necessarily. And they also say you should bring a fire extinguisher. You know, probably should tell me how to actually get in, but whatever, it's fine. But by this point, I didn't even know how to get in. So basically, I just searched around the Aurora and I found this propulsion cannon thing. This is actually how you're able to get in, but, you know, of course, the guidebook doesn't tell me how to do it. So instead, I tried the laser cutter. I don't know, I thought that would help, but I guess not. So yeah, I had to look it up. So this guidebook, it's not even helping me. Like, what's going on? So I got the propulsion cannon crafted, and I made my way into the Aurora. However, the guidebook's tip on bringing the fire extinguisher was actually pretty good. There is fire absolutely everywhere, and if you stand in it, well, okay, I think, yeah, you know, okay. But I did still have to use the laser cutter to open some doors, so at least I brought it. And in here, I could find a bunch of fragments, which I found a ton. Mainly for the prawn suit, so I was able to finish that off really easily. And basically, I just took a look around, you know, scanned literally everything I could find. And I also found this keypad. You know, didn't know what to do here, but whatever. If I only looked a little bit further in the book, I would have found the password for it, but I'll do that later. But for right now, I was just searching around. I got the last part of the prawn suit, which that was pretty important. And I checked around the outside of the Aurora for the cyclops, which is going to be like a submarine. It'll be pretty cool. But while I was searching for parts, this happened. So yeah, just like that, the sea moth is gone. Nice. I knew it was instantly gone, so I swam away as fast as I could. So now I only have the sea glide, so that's great. I'm gonna have to make another one. But after making a new sea moth, I made my way back inside. And did you know that you can get a free upgrade for your sea moth in here? Yeah, I didn't know that. So searching throughout the Aurora, I had to make my way to the sea moth station. And yeah, just like that, it was a free module for me. So hey, maybe this guidebook isn't half bad, okay? It might not tell me how to get into the Aurora, but hey, at least I can get a free upgrade. And with this, I'd be able to go down to 300 meters without breaking my sea moth. And once I'm able to get down to depths like that, the resources get way better. So getting these modules pretty quick is going to be very important. And now that I got this new module, I could go down to one of the life pods. And there wasn't a whole lot there except for this data box. And you can find these data boxes mainly by a wreckage. And they'll give you some sort of blueprint. And a lot of these you need to even progress. So I'll have to find quite a few of these. And by this point, I still didn't have all the fragments for the cyclops yet. And the only thing left that I needed was the hull. And yeah, I just found everything but that. But after taking a quick look in the guide, they told me to go to the mushroom forest, and would you know, yeah, they were all there. I thought I already checked there, but I guess not. So with the final fragment that I needed, I could finally assemble the cyclops. And I also got the modification station, which is used to upgrade the tools that I already have. And I also got the reinforced diving suit. Yeah, this would allow me to be safe in lava zones. But right now I put the modification station in my temporary base, and I got this upgrade for the knife, which is very useful. It's very cheap to make, and if you attack a fish with it, it'll instantly cook it. So this was pretty good. And also I figured these guys were annoying me the whole game. I thought I might as well try this knife out.
What is that? Oh, shit, what is that? Fight back! Fight back! Fight back!
So after getting all the resources that I needed for it, I finally built the Cyclops. Now the guidebook claims that this submarine acts as a secondary base. And there's a pretty surprising amount of things you can put inside. You could put things like fabricators and extra lockers in here. Even all the way to like garden plots. You can start planting inside. So it's going to have a ton of uses. And the main problem was how to get inside. I literally had to look on the guide how to get it. You go to the front. I didn't even know. I was looking around here for at least like a minute. It's kind of wild that they need a whole section on how to get in, but you know what? It's fine. But for right now, I'd kind of leave the Cyclops here for a while. I did not necessarily need it, and it was kind of clunky. So for right now, I'm just going to be rocking the Seamoth for a little bit, but it mainly comes into play during the end game. So for now, I took my Seamoth out to one of these islands. Didn't even know this biome was here because it's like surrounded by clouds or whatever. But yeah, basically there's a full island here. Didn't even know that. And the guidebook says you can find a bunch of plants here. So that was kind of what I was here to do, to scan a bunch of plants and see whatever I could find. Being on land was kind of a nice change of pace, I guess, so I took a look around. But honestly, I didn't find that much. So after about 10 minutes, I ended up leaving. And right after I made my way to a place called Island Mountain. Or no, that's not what it's called.
You're stupid!
Mountain Island, I think. or something like that. And on this island, there's a huge like alien thing. I don't know. This is like a part of the story or whatever, but I found this purple tablet. I had to put it into a thing. I don't know. I just kind of looked around. I didn't really do much. But yeah, the main reason this island is here is for the very end of the game. So basically, I get stabbed by this needle thing and I get infected, which later I'll have to cure, but right now, it wasn't important. But the guidebook tells me that there are some valuable resources like lithium, diamonds, gold, stuff like that. And they can be found in some of the nearby caves. So I thought, while I was there, I might as well check that out. And this is like an insane spot. I don't know why I got so much out of it, but it was pretty good. And also looking in the book, I found this thing that said Markiplier. Kind of piqued my interest because it was like one of the only things in English. But basically, yeah, it's just a little statue of Markiplier. So I had that in my base now. And also I made my way back to the Aurora because I took a deeper dive into the book and I actually knew what the code was. And after being able to unlock the captain's quarters, I was able to unlock the data about the rocket. And this rocket would be used to leave the planet and beat the game. But before that, I'll have to get a lot more stuff. So I wasn't even close to getting that yet. And also by this point, I took a look at my base and yeah, it just was not cutting it. So I flipped over to the chapter about base building. Now, one of the things they recommend before you even start building is to go to the Aurora and scan anything you already haven't. And basically, this would just allow me to put more stuff in the base. And before I start building, the guidebook says I should go back to one of these islands and get as many seeds as I can because I'm going to end up farming as well. So I made my way back and I found a pretty safe location. Apparently, the further you go down, the less hull integrity you have. And also, I just kind of wanted it in like a similar place where I had my previous one. So it's only about 200 meters away. But in my opinion, it's a far more open area and it gave me a lot more room to expand. So I just started working on the base. Now the guidebook doesn't actually say exactly how you're supposed to build a base, but they just kind of give you some parameters that you should have. One of the things they recommend is having an interior garden bed. And while I was moving my stuff, I figured out what this Markiplier thing does. So this was a neat feature, I guess. Anyways, I added some reinforcements to my base just to make the hull strength a little bit higher, and also added some windows just to make it look nice. And also on top of the interior gardens, I also added some outside. That's just what the guide recommends. I don't know. I didn't really use them, but at least I have them now. And now would start the long grind of trying to get this rocket done. And honestly, when I first started, I thought this was going to be pretty easy, but no, it just gets progressively harder the more parts you build onto the rocket. So I went around collecting as many resources as I could because the guide says you need the launch pad and you need 4 whole components to even make this rocket. So this was going to take a very long time. I was going to need to get the supply tower, the main engine, reserve tank, as well as the cockpit. And with all these combined, I would have the rocket. However, the guidebook clearly states that you cannot launch until you disable the cannon. Basically, that thing I got stabbed with, it infected me, and I have to cure that disease first. So yeah, I can't even leave and beat the game until I do that. But after about a day, I got the second component done. And so far, it seems pretty easy. You know, I'm kind of flying through these. No, this gets so much harder. And for one of the resources that I needed, I went down to the nearby jelly shroom cave where I was able to find some magnetite. It's kind of everywhere. So I just spent about 10 minutes down there just collecting as much as I could. And I also made my way back to the base where I made myself the moon pool. I picked up this fragment a lot earlier and I wasn't sure if this was going to be useful, but it turns out, yeah, this is extremely important. You need this for several modifications that you need to beat the game. So I made sure I finished it off. It wasn't that expensive to make. So yeah, basically this will allow you to get a bunch of upgrades, but it also, you know, lets you change the color. So, you know, it makes it look a bit nicer, a little more customized. But anyways, after getting the moon pool assembled, it was time for me to go back out again, and I was able to find a bunch of rubies, which is something I'm going to need. And they're not that hard to find. You have to go down quite a ways, but other than that, they're pretty much everywhere. And I also found some of this uranium ore, whatever this is. I don't know. It looked important, so I thought I might as well pick it up while it was there. I went all the way down to the maximum depth for my Seamoth, and this was because I had to pick up some nickel ore, and this was needed for the parts of the rocket, and it's already getting kind of difficult to get some of these resources. It might not seem like it in editing, but it took me a while, I'm not gonna lie. And also, I need to get some more copper ore, so I don't know why I always run out of this resource, but it's kind of everywhere, but it's also not, if that makes, I don't even know, whatever. And I also got the vehicle upgrade console, and this would allow me to get more modifications, and also it allowed me to change the color of my vehicles, so, you know, I might get some drip going, you know, never know. And I made my way back to the rocket, and yeah, this was going to be very expensive. This is going to take a while to get all these resources. Now, the problem is not actually getting to them. It's the vehicle depth. So for this, I was going to need the prawn suit. And fortunately, I had all the resources that I needed already at the base. So I just crafted the prawn suit and I was ready to go. And surprisingly, this vehicle, when it first starts, is at 900 meters depth, which is pretty good. But the guidebook says modification 1 gets you down to 1300 meters, which is what I need to go to. And fortunately, it's just one upgrade. It's not the second one. So it'll be just a little bit easier. But yeah, it's going to still take a while. But while I was at it, I got myself some rubies as well as some gel. I was just going to need a ton of resources, so I thought I might as well start now. And there's also a bunch of upgrades you can get for the prawn suit. Some of them are just kind of whatever, but some of them are very important. The main two I was after was the grapple hook as well as the drill. So eventually I was going to need to find those fragments. But before I did that, I got myself some sulfur because this was also needed for the rocket and I was able to reach it at this depth. So I got a bunch of that. And I also went to one of these wrecks because this is where you can find some of the fragments for the attachments, like the drill, grappling hook, whatever. And pretty easily I was able to find the drill attachment. And right after I got to base, I put the new attachment on the prawn suit. And I kind of wanted to try it out. It's very good, especially if you're finding copper, because copper is just so annoying to get and you need so much of it. But if you can find one of these copper deposits, I mean, it's so easy. You can get like 10 out of one single rock. So this drill will be pretty nice to have. And also I got myself some more sulfur because, why not? And I also made my way to another wreck where I got the grappling arm, and it was pretty easy to find. And I needed blood oil, which are these little red orbs, and there's quite a few of them, so, it wasn't that difficult. And with all the materials that I needed, I got myself the grappling hook. Now you can only have 2 attachments on at once, but it was gonna be more than enough. And I went out to get even more modules, and this is where this guidebook comes in and extremely useful. There's literally like 3 pages of just straight locations on where to find these things. So sure, they were kind of annoying to get, but I did not have a problem finding them. And all of these upgrades were either necessary or just kind of nice to have. Like for example, I got myself the decoys, and basically if there's a big creature chasing you, you can just fire that out and they'll follow that. And it might seem a bit overkill with all the stuff I'm getting, but I'm going down 1,300 meters and I want to be overly prepared for it. So after hours of grinding for all these upgrades and materials, I was now ready. And now as I reached the entrance to the lava zone, there was only one thing in between me and the valuable kyanite that I needed, a ghost leviathan. If I could get past him, I can get all the valuable resources that I needed and leave. But if I can't, I can risk serious damage to my vehicle and even have it be destroyed, meaning all these hours to grind for this vehicle would be for nothing. So going down, I instantly got chased by him, and all I could do is deploy the decoys and just pray he doesn't get my ship. And I wasn't sure, but I was able to sneak by. With the hard part out of the way, I now had to be quick and get all the kyanite that I needed. And looking out into the lava void, I saw this thing. And this guy's known as the Sea Dragon Leviathan, so I'm good. I'll pass. I'm good. So right after seeing that, yeah, I knew it was just time to go and get in, get out. So I grabbed the prawn suit and I drilled the kyanite. I only got myself one of these rocks, so about I think 8 materials in total. Hey, but that was good for me. I went back in the cyclops and I instantly got out of there. I'm not hanging around there. I just don't want to be down there. And also on my way up, I was able to dodge the ghost Leviathan, but there was this weird guy hanging on the side of my ship, and this guy's known as a lava larva, or I think so. At least that's what the guidebook calls them. And they seem kind of harmless, but I was looking at my power and I was going down so quick. I wasn't quite sure why, but these guys actually feed on my power. And there's even a graph on the guidebook where if you have 7 of these guys on your ship, it'll take 1% power per second. So yeah, you got to get these guys off right away. Unfortunately, I didn't know that until I got back to base, but yeah, so I lost a bunch of power in the process. But anyways, that was kind of the least of my concerns right now. I completely forgot to pack water on this expedition I had going. So I had to resort to cooking fish with my knife and getting like 3 or 4 points of water. So I was just barely surviving. I thought I was going to die, but fortunately I was able to make it back to base. And by the time I made it back to base, I was at 20% power. So yeah, all the way from 100 to 20. And it takes 6 power cells to power this whole thing. So I was going to have to make quite a few more power cells. But I made sure I got all these guys off because they were just annoying, what are these guys doing? But once I got back, I got all the water that I needed, and I crafted 2 reactor rods, which I thought that's what I needed, but I looked at the recipe and no, I need something else. So nice, all this work, yeah, getting all this stuff, that's cool. I'm gonna have to go back down to the lava zone. It wasn't difficult last time, so I gotta do it again because I needed ion batteries, and this would be even harder to get than the kyanite. So no, I wasn't done. I wasn't done yet. But I did have all the means to go do it again. So I got all my batteries charged up. I repaired the prawn suit to make sure I was ready to go, and I made my way back down to the lava zone. There's really nothing new. I mean, I was able to go down there, not a problem. It was pretty good. But this time I had a different goal instead of getting the kyanite. I did find some, so I thought I might as well get it. But the main goal for me was to find this weird portal entrance, I don't know, whatever you call it. And this is like an alien facility I need to get to. So going through the entrance and going down a couple caves, I was able to find it. I had to carefully jump on these wire things, I don't know, whatever you call them, and I was able to make my way in. And I had to do all this just to get a single blueprint. So yeah, this took a while, but I did get it done eventually. And once I got that, I didn't need anything else. So I got out of there and I made my way safely back to the Cyclops. And just like that, I was able to leave with no trouble. And also I saved a lot more power this time because I actually watched these weird larva things. And after a little while of travel in the Cyclops, I made my way back to base and I crafted the 2 ion batteries that I needed. And just like that, I got the other half done for the rocket. But no, I wasn't done yet. Of course not. Of course not.
Fuck this shit. This shit, man.
Yeah, this time I needed the cockpit, but fortunately this one was a little bit easier to get. All I had to do was get the Cyclops shield generator, and the guidebook already says the location. You just gotta find it at one of these wrecks. And I opened the data box and got it right away, so it wasn't that hard. You know, it wasn't that bad. And I got some of the spare materials that I needed, and just like that, I finally finished off the rocket. Yeah, it took quite a while. This was the main portion of the story that I needed to get done. But before I can beat the game and leave, I have to cure myself first. And to do so, I have to craft an enzyme, which I can only get from the Sea Emperor. And the Sea Emperor is located in an alien facility. And just guess where? Yeah, the lava lake, of course. And to craft this enzyme, it requires plant samples. So I collected myself the 4 samples that I can get. And the last sample that I need is in the Sea Emperor room. So I was just gonna wait until I get there first. And with all the plant samples that I need, I made my way back down, avoiding the Ghost Leviathan. And this time I went all the way down to 1400 meters. And I saw this weird thing again. I don't know what this is, but I made my way through to the entrance. And once I got in there, I found this guy. This is the Sea Emperor. And the main reason I was down here was to get the data about the enzyme and also get the Sea Crown, which only spawns here and is the last sample that I need. But I can't even craft it here, so I got to go all the way back to the Cyclops. But fortunately, I have a fabricator in here, so I just crafted up the enzyme. And after making it, I made my way back. It's kind of annoying going back and forth, but you know, whatever, it is what it is. And just like that, I like hatched the eggs. I don't know what this lore is. I don't really understand, but basically after doing that, it produced this like goop thing or whatever. And then once you touch it, you're cured. So I'm good to go now. So all I had left to do was to leave the lava zone, thankfully, for the last time. I returned back to the Cyclops and made my way all the way up to the surface. And also I had to go back to this island, the one where I got poked with the thing. And this time I was able to shut down the turret because I wasn't infected anymore. And now with that, I was done. I had absolutely everything that I needed completed. I already cured myself and already got the rocket done, so there was nothing left to do but leave the planet. And yeah, with me leaving the planet, that would be it. So after 40 hours, that is how I beat Subnautica, the way Unknown Worlds intended. Thank you for watching.